Everyone tells you to go silent after heartbreak, to disappear, to pretend you don't care and call it strength. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Silence doesn't give you power if you're still checking your phone, still replaying conversations, still hoping she notices your absence. That isn't healing. That's waiting. And waiting keeps you controlled. Real power doesn't come from vanishing. It comes from becoming someone who can't be pulled, paused, or played anymore, even if they tried. What you thought was love was often just relief. Relief from uncertainty. Relief from loneliness. Relief from not having to sit alone with your own thoughts. And that's why her attention felt so powerful. Not because it was deep, but because it was inconsistent. One message could lift your entire mood. One delay could ruin your day. That wasn't connection, it was conditioning. The mind gets hooked on unpredictability. The same way people get addicted to slot machines, you got addicted to the possibility that this time, she'd choose you fully. But here's what nobody tells you. The control was never in what she said or did. It was in how much access you gave her to your emotional state. Every time her silence dictated your worth, every time you rearranged your life around her availability, you handed the power over willingly. And the hardest realization isn't that she used it. It's that you mistook emotional tension for intimacy. You thought intensity meant meaning, when in reality, it was just leverage keeping you invested and off balance. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't wake up one day and realize you've lost yourself. It happens in small compromises that feel harmless at the time. You stop saying what you really think because it might push her away. You laugh things off that quietly hurt. You explain her behavior to yourself so you don't have to face what it means. And slowly, without noticing, you start taking up less space in your own life. You convince yourself it's maturity. That being patient, understanding, flexible is what love requires. But deep down, something feels off. You're exhausted, but not from effort, from pretending, from shrinking your standards so you don't have to confront the fear of being alone. And the moment it hits you is brutal. You realize you weren't fighting for the relationship. You were fighting to be tolerated. That awareness stings more than the loss itself, because once you see how small you made yourself just to stay connected, you can't unsee it. Control doesn't come from confrontation. It doesn't come from long messages, emotional speeches, or finally saying everything you wish you had said before. That kind of control is fragile. It still depends on how the other person reacts. Real control is quieter than that. It's built in the moments no one sees, when you resist the urge to reach out, not because you're trying to prove something, but because you're learning how to sit with yourself again. This is where things shift. You start realizing that strength isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to feel it without letting it run you. You build control when you remove the things that keep reopening the wound. The late-night scrolling, the rereading of old messages, the mental rehearsals of conversations that will never happen. Each time you choose discipline over impulse, you reclaim a piece of yourself. And slowly, the power dynamic changes. Not because she feels it, but because you do. There's a difference between disappearing and deciding. One is driven by emotion. The other is driven by clarity. When the door closes quietly, there's no announcement, no final argument, no dramatic exit meant to be noticed. It closes because you finally understand that explaining yourself won't bring respect, and chasing closure won't bring peace. This is where real boundaries form. Not as punishments, not as ultimatums, but as self-protection. You stop leaving the door cracked open just in case. You stop making exceptions for behavior you've already outgrown. And the strange thing is, it doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels uncomfortable, empty, almost anticlimactic. But that's the point. Growth doesn't always feel like victory in the moment. Sometimes it just feels like finality. And that quiet finality is what allows the next version of you to exist without being pulled back into what already cost you too much. There's a version of you that believed survival was the same thing as love. The one who waited, hoped, adjusted, and endured, not because it felt right, but because it felt familiar. That version wasn't weak. It was trying to stay safe. It learned to tolerate uncertainty because certainty felt out of reach. And for a long time, that was enough to keep you stuck. Outgrowing that identity is uncomfortable because it feels like a loss. You're not just letting go of a person, you're letting go of the role you played to keep them. The one who over-explained. The one who stayed calm while being disrespected. The one who believed that loyalty meant staying, no matter the cost. And the real shift happens when you stop asking why they treated you that way and start asking why you accepted it. That question doesn't come with instant answers, but it marks the moment you stop trying to return to who you were and start becoming someone new. At first, peace feels unfamiliar, almost suspicious. You're so used to emotional spikes and drops that calm can feel empty, like something is missing. But nothing is missing. What's gone is the constant pull, the reflex to react, the need to respond. And that's when you notice it. The moments that once would have thrown you off no longer reach you the same way. A name, a memory, a reminder passes through without hijacking your entire state. This is the turning point. Not because everything suddenly feels good, but because everything finally feels stable. Your energy isn't being drained by anticipation or fear. You're no longer bracing for the next shift in someone else's mood. And here's the part most people don't expect. This peace changes the dynamic completely. Not through silence, not through distance, but through stillness. When you stop reacting, when your life keeps moving forward regardless, the chaos loses its grip. And in that calm, you realize something powerful. You're no longer trying to get your power back. You already have it. For a long time, you thought closure would set you free. One honest conversation, one explanation that finally made it all make sense. But what you were really waiting for was permission to move on. And as long as you needed that from someone else, you stayed stuck. Because closure, when it's external, keeps the connection alive. It keeps you emotionally tied to the person who already walked away. The truth is, clarity was never hidden from you. It was there in the patterns, the inconsistencies, the moments you felt confused but chose to ignore. Waiting for answers only delayed the moment you accepted what their actions had already said. Real closure doesn't come from understanding their reasons. It comes from understanding your standards. The shift happens when you stop needing an ending that feels complete and start choosing one that's honest. When you accept that some chapters end without explanation, and that walking away without answers is sometimes the strongest decision you can make. Unshakable isn't about being immune to pain. It's about refusing to let it control you. It's waking up and moving through the day without waiting for validation, without replaying old memories, without letting the past dictate your choices. It's feeling the weight of loss, rejection, or betrayal, and still standing firmly in your own standards. This kind of strength is quiet. It isn't shown through outbursts or dramatic exits. It's built in mornings where you choose discipline over comfort, in nights where you resist distractions that would numb the discomfort of growth. It's forged in the decision to honor your own boundaries, consistently, no matter who is watching. And the remarkable thing is, once you reach this level, the people who used to control you no longer have any influence. Your peace becomes your power, and that power isn't conditional, it's permanent. You've stopped being the person who bends for others' chaos. Now you move with purpose, clarity, and unshakable direction. This is the point where everything aligns. The version of you who once sought approval, chased attention, and tolerated disrespect is gone. In its place stands someone defined not by others' actions, but by his own choices. You no longer bend, no longer negotiate your worth, no longer let nostalgia or memory pull you back into patterns that once controlled you. Power now comes from direction, not reaction. Your standards are non-negotiable. Your boundaries are sacred. You act consistently, not to impress anyone, but because your life demands it. And the beauty of this shift is subtle, but undeniable. Those who belong in your life feel it immediately. Those who thrived on your past submission are unsettled. You no longer need to explain, argue, or justify. The transformation itself is the statement. You have become untouchable not through force, but through discipline, clarity, and unwavering self-respect. And this is the version of you that doesn't just survive heartbreak, it transcends it. Heartbreak was never the end, it was an initiation. Every moment of doubt, every late-night replay of conversations, every ache you felt was a signal pointing to one truth. Your life cannot be built around someone who doesn't choose you consistently. Choosing yourself permanently means stepping into that truth fully. It means walking away from what controlled you, not with anger, but with resolve. This choice is quiet, steady, and relentless. You invest in your growth, your purpose, your habits, and your boundaries. You no longer measure your worth by who stays or who leaves. You define it internally. And as you move forward, you realize that freedom isn't about avoiding pain. It's about reclaiming your life, your energy, and your narrative. You don't need permission, validation, or explanations. You just need to keep building, keep showing up for yourself, and keep becoming the person who can't be shaken, no matter what the past tried to hold over you. This is power. This is peace. This is the life you were meant to claim.